Bum-ba-da-dum. Howdy y'all, Banjo Ben here. I hope that you've been enjoying the Theory of Practice course. Today begins the last lesson in this extensive 2+ hour course on the Theory of Practice. We're going to end the course with a study on what I call speed tests. Simply, how fast are we playing? But I want to caution you because I'm not talking about just simply how fast we're able to play in a jam or how fast we're able to do just certain tricks. We want to use the speed test to actually make us better. That's why it's part of the Theory of Practice course. So we're going to use these speed tests, the various ones that I've devised here, to help us actually get better. They're going to be an aid in our practice. It's not just a bragging thing or something to strive for, although it could be that too. So if you're watching here on banjobenclark.com, as a Gold Pit member, you got everything you need right here. Be sure and catch up on the beginning of this course if you haven't watched it yet, because it's all building together. If you're watching somewhere else and would like to have access to this course and hundreds of more courses for banjo, mandolin, and guitar, come on over to banjobenclark.com and join up as a Gold Pick member, and we'll get to learning. Let's learn how to do some speed tests. In this short video, I want to talk about speed test principles. Let's talk about what speed is and if it's good and if it's not. I'll just start with a great question that a lot of people ask. Can everyone play fast, or can anyone play fast? Well, that answer is hard to give. It's actually a relative answer. I'll give you a straight up answer. No, not everybody can play fast as we might define fast. Just as some people can run faster than others and some people can jump higher than others, there's some folks that just can't physically play as fast as others. Let me ask another question, though, that will be encouraging. Can everyone play a little faster than they used to could? And I think that answer is pretty much yes. There's a point where we begin to decline and we're not ever going to get it back. But I think everybody watching this video, you can make some improvement, and that's kind of the point of this course and this lesson in particular. As I think back over my love affair with speed, because bluegrass music is full of fast songs, full of fast things, and it's something that we want to try to attain as bluegrass musicians. But I remember putting way too much emphasis on it at the beginning of my playing journey. I even started an email address when I first started playing that started with Pickin 150, meaning 150 beats per minute. And it was my goal to be able to play 150 beats per minute on every instrument that I played. And I strove for that, and I reached it, although not very steadily, and it wasn't the best playing. But I was often putting speed ahead of things like timing and tone and just tasty music. And the older that I've gotten, the more that I've enjoyed songs that aren't quite as fast, at least to play. Nothing wrong with fast songs, and I still enjoy listening to them and playing as fast as I can at times. But I've found more of a joy the older I've gotten after playing 20+ years and just kind of grooving. And I'd seen a lot of players that were older than me go through that phase where it's just a little bit too much work to play fast. But we also need to work on the maintenance of our speed, and we need to strive to get faster if we can, and that's what this course and lesson is all about. Now, I'm going to give you some principles about speed and how we can make it better, because we should all strive to do that. And this applies to all the instruments. I'm wearing a banjo right now, but later on in this lesson, we'll apply it to all 3 instruments. When I think about speed tests, I have to ask the question, why? Why do we want a speed test? Well, there's a few answers to that. Maybe we have a goal that we're trying to set. Maybe we're playing along with a band on the weekends and they want to play a certain tempo and we've got to get there. Maybe it's just a goal that we've set in our practice times. I want to be able to play along with so-and-so song with so-and-so band, and that's great. But another reason why we want to use speed tests is to actually develop our playing as a whole. And we're going to break speed tests down into micro tests. We're not just going after how fast we can play overall. We're going to look at, in particular, techniques, licks, backup, things like that. And we're going to apply these speed tests there to be able to measure our progress as we go forward. When I think about playing fast on the banjo or any instrument, and I think about trying to get better at it, I can't help but make an analogy with getting stronger in a weight room. There's lots of things in common there. There's some things that aren't in common, and I'll talk to you about that as well. But when I'll try to get faster, I will approach speed just like I would approach trying to get stronger. And that's what I want to explain to you today. So if you've ever done any kind of weight training, formal weight training, or had a coach, or just been around folks that do that sort of thing, you know that there are times when you will want to max. You will want to see how much weight you can actually lift, or even how many sit-ups can you do in a minute, or how many push-ups, or how many pull-ups. There are times when you want to take measurements of what status you're in when it comes to your strength or in your agility. And when you think about that, you notice that weightlifters, people that are trying to get stronger, they don't max out their strength every day. If they went in and they tried to see how much they could bench press every day, not only would they not get stronger as a whole, but they would also probably injure themselves. And I don't think that we'll injure ourselves if we just try to play as fast as we can every day. I don't want to carry the parallel that far. But what I want to say is that speed is not going to be measurable from day to day, or increases in speed. Increases in speed are going to be measured over the course of time. And I think that if we're always trying to clock ourselves, that we're going to become discouraged, because there's lots of variables that go into how fast we're playing, boiling all the way down to how long have we been playing, how long have we warmed up, what's the temperature outside, what are we trying to play, what have we eaten for that day, how much rest have we gotten. There's all kinds of things and variables that are going to apply that. So we don't take speed tests. We don't max out any more often than what we should to keep that a healthy balance. Also, there are going to be different exercises that have different maxes. Just as if I went in and benched 300 pounds, I wouldn't think that I could also curl 300 pounds. All right. I wouldn't think that I could also power lift or deadlift 300 pounds. So the same thing's going to apply to our playing. There's going to be some things that we can do faster than others, and we'll get into that because that's very important. We want to set individual goals for individual skills and things that we're trying to get better at. And when we do that, our speed on the whole is going to get better. Okay. As far as overall speed, like I said, that will come naturally. And I'm just convinced that if we work on the speed of the details of our playing, as I'm about to show you, that we will progress overall. And it'll be something that we look back on 6 months, a year from now, giving it time, and we'll see how we've progressed. Okay, so those are some principles of speed and what the speed tests are all about. What we're going to dive into next is the actual steps to a speed test. Whether we're talking about playing rolls, or we're flat picking or cross picking or whatever it is, we're going to apply these same steps to that particular skill, and we're going to track our speed to see how we progress over time. Okay, let's talk about the steps for the speed test. There are 3 big steps that we're going to follow, and then some little sub-steps underneath those to help us get better with speed. But the first thing that we need to do, this isn't actually step 1. I'm just saying before we enter in the speed test, is we need to figure out what we're going to actually test. It could be anything. It could be a technique. It could be your rhythm playing. It could be a fiddle tune. It could be a certain solo that you're trying to work up. It could be cross picking. But whatever that element is that you want to try to get faster at, we need to determine what that is now. And then as we enter into the speed test, we got some steps to follow. So let me choose that. Let's say, just for the sake of simplicity, that I'm going to work on just single string picking. Okay? And my goal there, this is very important, my goal is to have good tone, good timing. I don't want any tension. I don't want any stress. I want it to sound and look and feel the way that I want it to feel. And this is one way that speed differs from going in and maxing out in a gym on bench press. When you max out on a bench, you're giving maximum effort. There's lots of tension there, lots of stress, using every muscle in your body almost to get that up. When we're playing bluegrass, when we're playing these instruments, true speed actually comes from no tension or very little. So we want to be relaxed. So a true speed test measures how fast we can do something without error and also not building unnecessary tension, because at that point we're forcing it using other muscles and it's not happening at the level where it needs to happen. Okay, so like I said, I've identified just playing a single string. I want to see how fast I can do that because I'm going to create a plan. And so the step 1 is to find my max. And to do that, I'm going to need a metronome, right? So I'm going to use my phone app today. I use an app called Guitar Toolkit. I have to tell you, I don't recommend it. It's not supported anymore, and the tuner on it doesn't work. But it's got a great metronome. It's got a great chord finder, So maybe you still think it's worth the money. I think it's $10 or so. But I love the metronome. It's easy to control, and various sounds and things like that. So I'm going to try a speed here, and let me just dial it down a little bit. We're at 100 right now. Let's start at 80 and just see how that feels. And what I'm doing, you'll notice, is I'm playing 4 notes per click. So technically this is 160, but we don't like to deal with all the zeros, so we often cut the speed in half just to make the math a little easier. But technically this is 160 beats per minute. I'm examining what I'm trying to play here. I'm examining my body, and I realize that it's not a struggle. I can build from there. So let me try 90. And what I'm listening for, and what I'm feeling for, is of course the tension and stuff. But if I miss a note, if I miss a string, then technically there's failure. And that's what we're looking for, right? Whenever we find our max, we're looking for failure. We're looking to see what's the fastest we can play without there being added tension or a failure. So a breakdown of technique, which would be missing a string. And I realize that everybody misses a string from time to time, but I think you'll know when you're missing a string because it's too fast. Let me go on up to 100. That'd be a good number to stop at anyway, to show you some more math. Okay, so I feel like I have great control at 100, but I'm getting near my limit. I'm not warmed up today, and that just feels good. I could push it faster, but for today, that sounds great. I can tell, for the sake of this video, that if I really try to push faster, I would be trying to pull in more tension from my arm, whatever it may be. If you're playing banjo, you're trying to force it. So I've established my max. Okay, so that's step 1. I've established my max. Step 2, I'm going to devise a plan. And this is where we really draw from the weightlifting world. And so we're going to say, and this is one reason why I stopped at 100, we're going to say that 100 beats per minute is 100%. That's our max. What I'm going to do, and this is adjustable for you, but here's just an example. I'm going to take, let's say, 1 week of practice times, and I'm going to practice whatever that is I'm trying to get faster at, but I'm not going to practice it at 100%. I'm going to practice it a lot at 70%. Okay, so I'm going to take a week, and looking at our metronome here, I'm going to dial down to 70. And during my practice times, wherever I'm sitting around, I'm going to start a timer, and let's say 3 minutes or 5 minutes straight. That may not seem like a long time, but those of you who have watched this whole course and applied some of the principles, you know that that's quite a while. So I'm going to take 3 minutes. This is important that we do it for a while, not just for a little bit. We're trying to create some fatigue, actually, at 70%. I'm going to start 70 beats per minute. And here I'm focusing on fundamentals, especially after several minutes go by, because the weakest links in the chain are going to begin to break down. You will eventually experience failure, okay? So we're working on our endurance, we're working on our form. We don't want to start substituting other muscles. We want it to feel the same way that it should feel whenever we were playing it the first few times. So we try to maintain form, and we work for that entire week at 70%, okay? So like I said, you can adjust this if you want, but this is a great plan. Week 2, what do? Week 2, we're going to go to 80%. So I'm going to go to 80 beats per minute, keeping the math easy. Okay, and I do that for several minutes every day, okay, until I start to feel some fatigue. And that's really good. What's interesting is if you do a week of 80 and you go back to 70, it won't feel the same way at 70 as it did the week before. It'll feel way slower than it did the week before, because progress is being made. So check that out. That's really encouraging. Guess what we do week 3? Week 3, we're going to go to 90%. Okay? And I'm going to do a whole week, and I've got to maintain discipline to not jump ahead and see what's going on, because we're doing work. We're doing work here mentally, physically. As long as we're doing several minutes in a row, many times a week, we're doing work here. Okay, I just missed a string, so technically that would have been my max at the beginning. Okay, but we do that consistently for that week. And then what do? Week 4, we're going to warm up. Okay, we're going to use our ideal practice session that we've already covered in this course. We're going to warm up, get nice and warm, and toward the end of that practice session, we're going to go back to our max, and we're going to retest. So we're going back to 100 beats per minute. Okay, and then we're going to see if we can go faster than that. Just a couple beats per minute, 2 or 4 beats per minute. And we're going to establish a new max. And there will be times where maybe you don't grow in your max, but very often you will. If you're warmed up, okay, if you're back in the same condition that you were the first time that you maxed. And if I didn't mention in step 1 that you need to be warmed up, then that's obvious. You need to be warmed up, okay? So just keep the conditions as close as you can from step 1 to the end of step 2, which is to remax. And so now you're looking at every 4 weeks getting a new baseline. And then you can continue your 70, 80, 90%. And I know that it's quite boring just to pick one string like that, but we can work out all kinds of other things, all kinds of cross-picking things that we're going to cover in the next video segment. Now, I said we had 3 steps. So step 3 is pretty easy. It's more of a review, and that is simply to analyze and record. Analyze and record. So let me flip that around. Record and analyze. It's very important, if you can, to get a camera, grab another phone if you're using your phone for your app, and record from a great angle what you're doing whenever you max, and even your other speeds as well, and look at it. And look at it 2 or 3 minutes into your practice sessions where you're hashing out those 70, 80, and 90% levels. Listen to see if you're on the metronome, as you should be, and also look at your form. Are things starting to break down? And work on that. Analyze and break down. Record, analyze, break down. Because we have to treat this, or it's helpful to treat it as systematically as we can to ensure progress going forward. And I don't want to negate or downplay just the natural speed building that happens when kids sit around and play. That's the way it's supposed to be. But I'm just talking to those of us who want to be cognizant of it and more disciplined, and maybe you're reaching a dead end of your speed and you want to do something else that's going to help you. That's what these speed tests are for. Okay, I used to do the same thing with classical piano. We had some scale exercises that I had to test every once in a while to see how cleanly and how fast I could play those for my teacher. So this is some of that same technique being brought over from that. Okay, in our next few vids, we're going to take each instrument individually and we're going to go through a speed test and show you several different options of what you might be testing on that particular instrument. Let's check it out. I'll do it in the second B part.